And we want to wish everyone a blessed and happy New Year, happy Kwanzaa, as our community is celebrating that. And hopefully, as we go into this new year, you have expectations of a great, great new year as we go get ready for year 2024. Before we introduce our special guest today, want to start off by recognizing our sponsors. Terry McKelvey, Terry, my tennis partner. We want to just acknowledge Mr. McKelvey, who takes care of divorces. Hopefully, that happens in our community, and when it does, Terry, we recommend Terry McKelvey for wills, criminal law, real estate closings, all of those type of practices, general practices, Terry McKelvey. And then for your slip and fall malpractice suits, John Elmore, $1 million man, John Elmore. And then Dr. Francis Aluza, and we send our condolences to Nigeria as Dr. Francis is there. Her mother passed several days ago. Remember the Aluza family in prayer as Dr. Francis lost her mom. I think she was 90 years old, 90 plus. And so, Dr. Francis, one of the jewels in our community, and we just want to send our condolences and our love all the way to the continent of Africa, to the country of Nigeria, where Dr. Francis is there working on her hospital that she's building in her village. And, I know that her mom was very proud of her, had the opportunity to meet her mom when she was here in the States. And so we, once again, send our condolences. Now I want to introduce two folks that are here. One we call Strawberry because she makes these chocolate dipped strawberries, Annette. And Stan Martin. I think a lot of folks know Stan. Stan, Annette, welcome to the Vision of Hope broadcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And we'll start with Annette.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you?
You got to put that mic right up to you, right?
Oh,
right,
okay.
Just like me. Yeah.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you this morning?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good. I am a liaison for cancer patients. I have a group called We Are As One. And what we do is when you're diagnosed with cancer, we do take the walk with you to try to make it as easy as possible, along with working with Stan Martin. He'll tell you what he does. And I'm just a community person.
Yes, you are. And you've made this walk, I know, with several of our parishioners at Bethesda. And I would recommend anyone that needs advocacy. You need to understand the system, what's going on. You've been diagnosed with cancer. I recommend that you get in touch with Annette. When I tell you she's an advocate and she knows the system. When I say the system, she knows, oncology. She knows the people involved there. They, excuse me, they know her. And so, when you're going through something like cancer, naturally it's a shock. There's a fear factor there. The more knowledge, the more information you have, I think the better your outcome can be. Yes. Because, knowledge is power. Definitely. So I would recommend you get in contact with Annette. Stan.
Yes, sir.
Stan the man.
There you go. Go. Good morning, Bishop. Good morning, Annette. Good morning, Buffalo. Thank you for having us on the show this morning. Bishop, and those who don't know me, I'm a son of Buffalo. born and raised here in the Queen City, as we like to say.
Yeah.
In addition to that, just recently I started my own business, my own company, Stan Martin Consulting LLC, or for short, SMC. And the reason I did that, Bishop, was to really focus on the issues that matter to me, on the issues that matter to the Black community. That being said, one of the things I've been working on with the net and a lot of other advocates, I would like to say, here in the city of Buffalo and nationally, is really how do we prevent the initiation of tobacco use? How do we prevent the next generation, our youth, our kids, from becoming addicted to a deadly product when used as intended kills you?
Right.
So,
well, and we're gonna talk about this in depth because I think and Dr. Francis would have been on had she not been in Africa, because we moved her program just for this month to talk about health, and I want you to kind of share with us, this whole, give us a little bit of the history of menthol cigarettes and how it's impacting the Black community. Is it different than other communities? We'll kind of go from there. But I know there was this conversation on Capitol Hill recently, and it really seemed to be divided amongst even Democrats about, and even amongst Black people about this menthol cigarettes. And so, Stan, kind of, we know that cigarettes cause cancer.
Right.
Menthol cigarettes came along, maybe in the 70s?
The 50s, actually.
In the 50s?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, just if I could
yes.
just let me just jump right in, dive
sure.
right in. What we consider this, we call this the African Americanization of menthol tobacco on the Black community.
Okay.
And actually, one of my close friends, Dr. Phil Gardner, out of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council in California, actually did a lot of research in this area. So going to our conversation to answer your question, in the early 50s, less than 10% of African Americans who smoked menthol. And then when you look at between 1950 to today, let's just fast forward in terms of 3 decades, there was a intentional marketing of menthol tobacco in the Black community. For example, think about back in the day, the Cool Jazz Festival. For those of our listeners who was out there, remember they used to get on the bus and go off to Cincinnati, Ohio, or what have you, right to the Cool Jazz Festival. There were free giveaways of cigarettes in the Black community, specifically.
So are you saying that they didn't do that in the white community at the rock and roll festivals?
No, not with the intentionality that they did with the Black community specifically.
What was the difference?
The difference was that, once again, was the flavor in terms of menthol was developed to attract and to addict. In terms of the Black community, the free sponsorship, the free giveaways, the partnerships with civic organizations that our faith leaders, believe it or not, some of them have taken tobacco dollars to really align themselves with the tobacco industry and to give the industry the image that they are responsible businesses, that they're, care about our community. Even giving away water, for example.
Well, it's interesting when you said Cool's Jazz Festival, because most of the folks in our community smoke Cool cigarettes.
Or Newports.
Going back in the day, because I can remember I smoked for a little while as a teenager, because it was cool to do, right. Cool cigarettes, right? Mm-hmm. And you get the Cool menthol cigarettes. So if it's a Cool Jazz Festival, almost like, it's like a ready-made for and first Black folks smoke Cools anyway, and like you said, Newports. But I pretty much remember Cool cigarettes as almost everybody I knew smoked Cool.
Yeah.
And but this targeting it was interesting because as a people, when you talk about merchandising of people, I think we have been, because we're consumers. Mm-hmm. We consume a lot of things. And Nate on the last program talked about a lot of the things that we created, but we don't tend to, perfect them and then market them and sell them and become rich ourselves. Somebody tends to take our ideas and profit off it. But in this case, right. We become the market. Mm-hmm. by which, and I don't know when cigarettes was determined by the Surgeon General, maybe in the 70s or 80s, that it caused cancer. Because, at one time it was said that, there were no health effects from cigarettes, right?
It needs to be prescribed, yes.
Yeah,
if you have asthma or certain illnesses.
Imagine that.
Right, imagine that.
Right. So, when we talk about this targeting, what does those numbers look like when we talk about those that smoke menthol cigarettes versus those that don't?
Well, yeah, I think that when we're looking at the numbers, in particular, I mentioned how the vast majority of African Americans who smoke today smoke disproportionately at higher rates than other ethnic groups. For example, with menthol, African Americans today, 85% of African Americans who smoke menthol tobacco. Once again, when you look at 1950s, all right, less than 10% smoke. In comparison, let's just cut to the chase. In comparison to whites, less than 30%, all right, of white people smoke menthol cigarettes. That's a huge disparity. And when you break that down even further in terms of looking at Hispanic, Latino, Asian, ethnic groups, or what have you, racial groups, all right, they smoke disproportionately at higher rates than whites because of the intentional marketing. So that is not by accident.
So, and you talked about intentional marketing, but Annette, you wanted to
Yes,
share?
I wanted to add in. I'm going to have you to think back. When you were smoking cools, do you remember what the pack looked like?
White and the green, white and, greenish color, yeah.
And what they also do to target us, they put our people on the packs, making it look like they're having fun, making it look like they're really cool.
Well, see, there was no pictures of nothing like that back when I was
During the
smoking.
years, it got to the point that they would put our people on the pack of cigarettes to target our people. And in regards to the harmfulness, this tobacco, it causes cancer. It causes COPD.
Is it more harmful?
Yes.
It's more harmful than regular?
Yes.
The menthol. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the menthol is definitely more addictive. Let me put
More
it that way.
addictive.
More addictive because it you inhale deeper, and therefore it's absorbed in your tissue in your body readily more easier. So therefore, in addition to that, let's talk about Black lives. And Annette was talking about COPD. We die disproportionately at higher rates more so than other groups. Why? Because of tobacco-related illnesses, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, stroke. Those are some of the number one killers of our community. That's all associated with tobacco. So overall, we might smoke less. Yeah, we might smoke less proportionally. However, we die at greater numbers than other groups, and that's preventable. I think that's one of the things that's upsetting. So when we hear this argument, going back to your earlier question about the Biden administration or the conversation that took place, this is a part of a national initiative to ban menthol.
Talk about that national initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So the national initiative that Buffalo is a part of, there's a movement to remove menthol tobacco from the shelves. All right, to prevent the manufacturing and the sale of menthol tobacco. All right, at the national level, and that's something that we're doing here locally. The Biden administration they have promised the black community that they were going to make a decision on that by this December, by this year. But you know how things go. They didn't. All right, they kicked the can, they punted or whatever, and they said that they're not going to make that decision or make a ruling on that until March of 2024. But in the meantime, over 1,300 lives, black lives, are lost as a result of this indecisiveness.
So what would you say to the argument that says, well, people are going to smoke, okay? They have a right to make those type of decisions. This is a free market, capitalistic, society. Let people make the choice. I mean, the information is out there. Let them make the choice. Well, what do you say to that?
I say that goes once again back to the intentional marketing. In terms of how we have been bamboozled, how we've been hoodwinked, how we have been led astray, not just only by the tobacco industry, but also by some of our leaders, as I mentioned earlier. So when you think that you're making a conscious decision, all right, you have to also think about all the other elements that have went into that decision, and the misinformation and the disinformation. So what we want to do, we're not. Let me say this: we're not against those who smoke. We're not against those who utilize tobacco or vape. What we are against is the tobacco industry intentionally targeting
targeting
marketing, all right, of our community, and therefore, when you look at the research, when you look at the data, Black people invented a lot of things, but menthol wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So menthol was specifically developed to target women. I remember, if you remember, but for those historians, all right, smoking was considered a macho, a male thing. All right. Then the tobacco said, you know what? There's another, revenue funding stream. Virginia Slims, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. So there you saw Virginia Slims come in. The tobacco industry also, let's talk about other populations, the LGBTQIA plus community. All right. That has been, a target market of the community. And also our youth, for those who remember adults, Joe Camel back in the day.
Right.
All right. That was a cartoon character that was utilized to attract and dig the next generation. I will say this, replacement smokers. I say replacement smokers because of those are people who either passed and moved on, who transitioned. No offense, my heart goes out to those people who have, family members who have lost a loved one. And the tobacco industry has particularly targeted our youth to replace those individuals who can no longer buy or purchase.
Now, I know that this was a huge conversation that was happening, especially when, the whole youth conversation, whether it was vaping or this, as far as targeting youth. And I think that conversation got big because the majority population felt like their kids were being targeted. Now, and I think that campaign, they kind of did away with that campaign of targeting youth.
Yes, that's was a result of the master settlement agreement, and that's when I actually got into tobacco control back in wow, I'm dating myself, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But the target marketing of our youth, that campaign, the master settlement agreement resulted in the removal of cartoon characters. In terms of the promotion and the sale of tobacco products, the master settlement agreement also eliminated tobacco sponsorship. They used to be watching the Bills game or sporting events, and you would see a Marlboro commercial, or you would see a cool commercial come on your TV. That eliminated the master settlement agreement, eliminated that type of target marketing and promotion. Time, place, and manner.
And that's all we're asking for here.
That's exactly right.
But when it comes, and I think our community, just understand that, right? So when they were targeting the majority population, whether it was through lawsuits or settlements, they stopped doing that.
Exactly.
But when it comes to our community, and when you talk about this whole thing's of Black Lives Matter, and understand that when it's us, all of a sudden, we're collateral damage, we're disposable. The value of life is not the same, and that's what we're saying here. Now they've done it for other groups. But in this case, for us, they're not doing it, and I think this is where our community needs to be educated, understand these facts, and we need to be supportive of this. I want to go into this part because one of the things that I think will challenge us as a people as we move forward in this 21st century is there are systems in place that we didn't create.
Yes.
Right? But now, many that look like us are CEOs, managers, whatever, mayors, Congress people, whatever the case. You didn't create the system, but now you're in that system.
Yes.
That system was created to monopolize on the misery and profit on the misery, especially poor and Black people. And the people that look like us have been victimized by that. Now you're in the system and you're doing the same thing, or you're perpetuating what has always been.
Right.
And we got phone calls. We're gonna get to our phone calls in just a moment. But help us to understand, because there's black people, notable black people. One of them being Al Sharpton, the Action Network, that is National Action Network,
Right.
that's advocating that this targeting to our community remain. I don't get that. I don't understand that. I mean, when I think about Al Sharpton, I think about somebody that, for the most that I know of, has advocated for the black community. What's going on here? I mean, even in Congress, there were black congressmen that were advocating that the tobacco industry should be able to continue to market. Help us to understand.
Well, we're talking about a a billion trillion dollar business, okay, and therefore, unfortunately, I like to call them, or as people has called, tobacco provocateurs. Where they either take tobacco dollars. NAN, Al Sharpton and his organization have publicly stated that they accept tobacco dollars. Unfortunately, some of our black colleges, accept tobacco dollars.
So wait a minute. I need to. You just got to clarify this for me. So you're saying that Al Sharpton, National Action Network, has said publicly that we take dollars from the tobacco industry.
Absolutely.
Okay. And do we make the assumption, or did he clearly state that he advocates because he's getting these dollars, or are we making the assumption that, because he's getting these dollars, therefore, he's being supportive, or is his support directly tied to the dollars he's getting?
Well, I think that I can't speak for Al Sharpton, obviously.
Right.
All right. However, I will say this. We were talking earlier about last month about the Biden administration kicking the menthol ban down the road. So Al Sharpton and a few other tobacco.
The same president said, "You ain't black unless you vote for him."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right,
okay.
Right.
That guy.
Others, that guy. Okay. And other tobacco lobbyists and provocateurs met with Biden to delay. All right, the menthol ban, the ban on menthol cigarettes.
So people that look like us actually advocated with the president, and you can. I mean, so in all fairness, if Al Sharpton and others like him come to the president and say, "Hey, President, I mean, one of the things that the media has done very successfully is they've kind of said these are our leaders,
right?
Even though we're not monolithic." But nobody else has leaders like we have leaders. I mean, I don't know who's the white folks' leaders, who's the Japanese, who is the Hispanic leader. But we got a leader, right, that's supposed to speak for all black people. Now, this is the same type of issue that happened with prison, and long sentences for crack cocaine versus powder cocaine.
Right.
There were a lot of black folks advocating for that, even though, they knew that it was going to impact our community. And so, the Clinton administration went forward with it, but don't give all these black folks a pass that went advocating. Mm-hmm. The same thing here. I mean, we got to stop just because you black, and you've advocated for one thing that or several things or many things that might have been for the community. When it's something that's going to harm our community, we got to call you out, brother, sister. We got to call you out. We can't just let you give you a black pass. Mm-hmm. We call white folks out. It's time at this time and age, because I'm a firm believer in, especially when it comes to politics. I'm more interested in your policies. Than the color of your skin. Right. At this point, because we done had a black president, we done had a black governor, we've had a black mayor. I mean, so I'm more interested at this point. What are your policies and how they're going to impact me as an individual? Does color still matter? Absolutely. I get that. But at the end of the day, I want to know what your policies are.
Right.
And, excuse the diatribe, but I think, we got to start talking about these issues. Right. Why is it Al Sharpton and others like him, advocating that this harmful, ingredients should be sold and but targeted right. in our community?
Absolutely. And one of the things that they have done is fear mongering and gaslighting. And the argument is this, that this ban will criminalize black folks. All right, this ban will increase policing in the black community. And that's a myth. That's not true.
Yeah.
All right. And one of the things that's why
they probably point to Eric Garner, right?
Well, yes,
because of which.
And that's as tragic as that is. This is not that, and that's why the ban, specifically at the national level and here and locally, I want to reemphasize, the onus is on manufacturing and the sale, not possession. Policing is an issue in our community. The illicit market is an issue in our community, and we're addressing that. All right, but this ban does not enhance or increase a police presence or a criminalization at all.
Let's do we still have that caller on? Let's go to our phone lines right quick. Caller, are you there? Caller.
Yeah. Good morning, Bishop. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, it's a great day to be alive, Bishop. Listen, this is a really, really important conversation. When we were doing the research on the social media addiction of our children, we came across this documentary called The Rise and Fall of Juul. And this is the vaping industry. And basically what they were making an argument for is that they initially were trying to decrease the number of people who were using tobacco, because tobacco was a number one killer. Matter of fact, in today's Buffalo News, there's an editorial where it's encouraging people to leave smoking cigarettes and smoke these e-cigarettes or these vaping cigarettes. But to the point that you made, that when they found out that through social media they could accelerate the rate in which people got addicted, particularly our children. I mean, there was to replace these people that were dying. They begin to target our children, and they put flavors in the vape. And then, like you said, it was a whole movement around stopping that. They stopped the flavor, and they basically stopped that whole movement. Juul went from a company that had a $10 billion valuation in 6 months to out of business.
Wow.
Because people came together to protect the interests of their children. It reached the $10 billion valuation quicker than any other company in history. And then within 2 years, it was out of business because the mothers of those children who were suffering the health challenges associated with it, they basically organized themselves and they shut that industry down, or had a huge impact on it. And it's now trying to come back. But when you add social media to how to influence the mind of children, they were creating. They talk about they had a 30% saturation rate, in middle school students in less than a year, based on how they was using social media to addict our children. So this is something that we got to be aware of our community. People, they study our children now because they can use the algorithms of social media. They study our habits, what we do, how we do it, and then they create a target marketing campaign around our habits and our, things that affect us emotionally. And they know some of us and our children better than we do. And so, therefore, we are vulnerable. And if we don't have people like your guest today who are out there warning our community about what industries are doing to addict our community, we will be victimized generation after generation.
Wow. Sam, I didn't catch your voice at first. Man, that thank you for calling, man. Yes. I mean, that, and Sam, we've been talking about this, the impact of social media. Even, and John, one of the members of the Urban Think Tank, is fighting, representing 3 of the people from the May 14th massacre, that social media played a direct part in that happening.
Exactly.
I mean, they pretty much painted the script for this young man.
Yeah. And thank you, Sam.
And for our youth, it is really, really the addictive in social media, and now what Juul became is a product within social media that they can addict them to. Mm-hmm. And they study this stuff. They show in this video, in this documentary at Stanford, them studying the patterns of behaviors so that they can predictably, in this targeting, they predictably, have our kids specifically use it. And so to think that people won't do that is naive on our part. To think that people won't look for something that targets our community to get our community and our kids specifically addicted, it's happened and it's happening, and it's important that we speak out like y'all doing today.
And Sam, that was the rise and fall of Jewel. Is that JEWEL?
JUUL. The rise and fall of Jewel. JUUL. It's a 4-episode documentary that lays out how this company started, and it was really started with a mission to deal with what y'all talking about today. The mission was to decrease the number of people who were addicted to tobacco, because tobacco is a much, it kills more people than, what they said. They were looking for a way to kill less people and to deliver the tobacco safely. And then consequently, when they did that, what happened was they found a way to deliver marijuana more effectively, and they made a bunch of money off of that. And then they found that the kids were getting addicted to it at a rapid rate, and they was making so much money that they literally switched their mission to make the money in the short term. And so they got shut down, but they made a whole bunch of money before they got shut down. They sacrificed a bunch of our kids, and our kids getting sick before it got regulated.
Yes.
And so finally it got regulated, and, that slowed that down. But if those mothers would not have to fight for their kids and showing their kids the health effects of their kids, they would be still making billions of dollars, almost $1 trillion valuations off that right now.
Wow.
Can I just respond?
Go ahead.
Sam, thank you for your call and thank you for your comments. You're exactly right. The jewel industry actually copied the big tobacco industry's playbook in terms of their targeting marketing campaign. They did exactly what R.J. Reynolds. They did exactly what Philip Morris did in terms of marketing and targeting.
Yeah.
All right, their product. And just a couple comments I want to make. Electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes was a result of all the advances that we made in terms of restricting cleaning tobacco use in terms of public places and things of that nature. However, even though e-cigarettes is being promoted as a safer alternative, all right, the jury is still out on that. And oftentimes the research has shown that people result back to smoking regular or combustible tobacco cigarettes in particular. Yeah. And I want to just also emphasize that it's the flavor, once again, in terms of it's the flavoring that attracts and addicts. And over, just to bring this home to New York State, research shows that over 280,000 youth today, under the age of 18 in New York State would die prematurely as a result. All right, of tobacco.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and I just want to add in, not just in New York State, nationally, 54.4% of high school students smoke menthol cigarettes, and 48.4% also smoke menthol cigarettes, and they're in middle school.
Do we know what the numbers are racially?
I don't have those numbers with me right now. However, when you break those numbers down, we call it the strata data by race and high school education, SES, etc. We know that those rates are sometimes twice and 3 times more than the general population.
Right, and now we make up less than 10.
Make one more point.
Yes, Sam.
You can go into any corner store right now, and they got these THC products, with these flavors in them. High level for little kids. They got these little gummy bear THC products. So this targeting is going on right in every corner store in our community right now. You understand? Whether it's the THC or tobacco, but it's happening for our children. So this kind of advocacy that we got going on, we need to amplify it. We need to make sure that we challenge. We can't, because in America, if you don't fight for something, it's just gonna happen. They're just gonna exploit to the extent that they can exploit. Because somebody say enough is enough. But
money's gonna rule it.
In our community as we speak.
Absolutely, Sam. Well, money's gonna rule, right? I mean, those that advocate, and Capitol Hill, the lobbyists. That's really what runs the country.
Right. And one of the things to your point, Sam, is that we've worked very closely, Annette, myself, and others from Roswell Park, the Advancing Tobacco-Free Communities, Amanda Rashawn over at CAI, as well as other leaders here, to put forth legislation to the Buffalo Common Council. That will once again ban the manufacturing and the sale of menthol in the city of Buffalo. Councilman Wyatt, he's been championing this effort within the Buffalo Common Council. Also, I want to say that we're actually going to Washington D.C. Some of us are going to Washington D.C. on January 18th. In 2024, to be a part of a national march, a national rally, to show the Biden administration that there is strong support from the Black community across America that is willing to take a stand and push back and say, hey, enough is enough. Black lives matter. And what is the cost of a Black life?
Yeah. And I think it's important. Thanks, Sam. I think it's important that when we say Black Lives Matter, it's not just about police brutality. I mean, that it goes far beyond that. Matter of fact, that is just symptomatic of a root issue. That says that in America, Black lives have never really mattered. That's what we're saying. Whether it's economically, whether it's health-wise, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the judicial system, no matter what system we're talking about, Black lives have been minimized. That's what we're talking about. And now we got to talk about, we got folks that look like us, that because of the dollar, that you're willing to, then you the same people that march talking about Black Lives Matter. But then you whitewash it when it comes to the dollar. My brothers, my sisters, because you're getting paid. That's unacceptable. And it's time we start calling those folks out. We call white folks out. We ain't got no problem calling Biden out. We ain't got no problem calling Clinton out. Well, let's call some of these black folks that's selling us out. It's time that you be outed. And then you show up like ambulance chasers when tragedy happened in our community. Like you the savior for the black community, but then on issues like this where it's killing, it's killing hundreds of thousands, millions of people that look like us prematurely. And you gonna take dollars? No, that's unacceptable. And it's time that we wake up as a people.
Yes.
Right.
It's time we wake up. 837-1112, 837-1112. It's time we wake up as a people and say no more. It's just amazing that when it comes to exploitation, we at the head of the list. And too often now, the people that are exploiting us look like us.
Say it.
Yes.
Say it.
And we got to say no more. And plus, because you recognize on something, that don't make you the voice for all of black people. We're not monolithic. We think, we got opinions. Whether you like it or not, everybody didn't vote for Biden that was black.
Right.
Now, those that voted for Trump, you kind of wonder what's wrong with them. But the bottom line it shows is that, we're not monolithic.
Right.
And so therefore, you can't speak for everybody. But the national media has done that. And they've done that to eliminate voices that might expose, a system that continually says black lives don't matter.
Right. Exactly. Well said.
837-1112, 837-1112. So, Stan, you said that there's going to be a march.
Yes.
In January. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, certainly. Working very closely with the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council and other tobacco control advocates from Atlanta, Wisconsin, California, etc., to really show solidarity to the Biden administration that Black lives do matter. That the delay in banning menthol is unacceptable. So therefore, we're going to be meeting in Washington on the 18th of January. We're going to be having a menthol funeral, something that we did here in Buffalo. And this is not to mock, Black culture or the significance of a funeral. It's really to raise and amplify, as the caller said, the awareness and educate the Biden administration and others that this is an issue in our community, and this is what they're doing is unacceptable in terms of ignoring us. So we're going to have a procession marching down Black Lives Matter Plaza. We're going to have a actual funeral that's going to take place near the steps of the White House. They've already know that we're coming. So we got clearance from Secret Service and all of that. But once again, it's a national call. It's a national call. And ironically, that week is the mayor's convention. All right. That's happening in D.C. And several mayors. All mayors. Okay. All mayors. All right. And several mayors have already supported the ban on menthol in terms of Ohio, Savannah, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, Alabama, Montgomery, and a few other states.
Now, you mentioned the Common Council. Where's our mayor on this?
I'm reaching out to him. If you're listening, Mayor, or those in his cabinet, please contact me, contact others who are working on this issue, so that we can inform you and also get your input
support
on this issue. Yeah,
absolutely. So, to get his support on something like this, and it goes a long way, especially when the mayor looks like us,
exactly,
and says that, hey, this is a problem in our community. My wife is on Facebook, and she said that Dr. Francis, you can't even come in her office if you smoke before you came. Now, here's the toxicity of cigarette smoke. It is dangerous for people, not just secondhand smoke, but even if it's in your clothes. Right. I mean, that's how toxic, formaldehyde, all kind of stuff in this tobacco. And I think that, these are things I know. My wife's best friend in high school never smoked, but she lived in a house where other people did. She died of lung cancer. You don't get lung cancer unless you smoke. Right. That came from secondhand smoke. That's how dangerous this is. For anybody to be advocating at all about cigarettes, you don't care about people's lives.
And this is where I would love to come in.
Yes.
What a lot of people don't know, and that's what we're out here doing, educating people. And to answer your question earlier, 70% of smokers are our youth.
70%.
70%.
And it's illegal from how old you got to be to buy?
21.
21. So they shouldn't even be able to buy cigarettes.
Exactly. So getting back to second and third hand smoke, I am also a good friend of your wife. Hello, First Lady. I've never smoked a day in my life, but I was raised in a household that my grandfather, he was a chain smoker. And within that household, myself, my sister, and 3 of my brothers ended up with cancer.
Wow.
Yes. With secondhand smoke, it's not that you have to actually put the cigarette to your mouth.
Yeah.
As soon as you blow that out, that smoke out, everyone around you is getting that contact. A lot of people don't know about third-hand smoke. A lot of people say, I don't smoke in the house. I get in my car and I smoke. Well, when I get in your car, I'm inhaling all that smoke. That's third-hand smoke. What a lot of landlords don't realize, and a lot of them do, when they rent to smokers, and again, we have nothing against smokers, but if you're smoking in your house and your tenant moves out, all that tobacco is still in the walls, the carpet, all of that. So that next person that move in, they have a chance of having problems with their health.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we're not against, smokers. But as long right, as it doesn't affect me.
Exactly.
Whatever you do, you know, as long as it's not affecting me, I mean, you should have the right to do it. You know, this is America. As long as it's not illegal, right? You should have the right to do it. But when it starts affecting me, then that's a problem. And cigarette smoke, I tell you, I can't be around it. It gives me a headache.
Yes.
I mean, I thank God that they banned it from mostly all,
restaurants and bars.
Yeah, because man, it I mean, even when I get in a car or something where someone has smoked, I mean, all of a sudden my sinuses and everything start getting agitated. So thank God, and this was all advocacy. So it shows that people power can overcome even the money.
That's right. That's right. We always say, "Oh, go ahead now."
And I also want to add, a lot of times we're complaining about and talking about the cost of our health care. Mm-hmm. Yes, our health care is continuously going up because of this tobacco that's causing COPD, cancer, heart attacks, strokes, and the list goes on.
You know, Ned, I was amazed at how much chemotherapy costs. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
It's more, one treatment is more than 90% of the people in America make a year.
Yes.
Right.
That's crazy.
And a lot of times when you have the chemo, they also want you to have the radiation. Some people have it at the same time. Can you imagine what that bill is?
Yeah. So I mean, that's astronomical. And when you break it down, Pastor, by race, like we were talking earlier, when you break it down by income, we know that those who make those who are living at or below the poverty level, okay, or less than $25,000 a year, smoke at higher rates, all right, than the general population. We know that those with less, with less education, smoke at higher rates, all right, than the general population.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, it's intentionally marketed in those places.
You know, it's interesting because somebody put on Facebook that a pack of cigarettes, and we're going to go to our phone lines, a pack of cigarettes costs $15.
Yes. And some even more.
And so, right.
Woo!
In some places.
And you poor?
Yes. And
$15 and you poor?
Yes. And I want to take this quick second. I don't like to repeat it because it makes me so angry. So I'm going to ask Stan, can you put out there what Reynolds had to say?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. When you were asking earlier the history, how did this all begin and how did I get started in this work? 20 years ago, I read a document as a result of the agreement where all of their records became public knowledge, and the tobacco executive was asked, "Do you smoke?" And they said this, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, "We don't smoke that. We reserve the right for the young, the black, the poor, and the stupid." That's what the R.J. Reynolds, the tobacco executive, said.
Well, and what they've done speaks louder than what they said.
Right.
You know, that it's just amazing because, one of the things that God judged Israel about was how they treated the stranger, how did they treated the poor, the widows, and the orphans.
Yes.
He judged that nation for how they treated people that couldn't defend themselves. Know that when you do stuff like this, you got God to answer to. There is a higher power. There's a higher law than the laws of America that can be shifted and swayed by those that have money, the lobbyists of the world. There's somebody else you got to answer to.
Yes.
And when you hear about stuff like this, it angers you. Because of the fact of you see how you are making money on the misery of people that are vulnerable. It's a vulnerable population.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted you guys to come on, because we tried to give information. We tried to, expose to our community those things that will be helpful, but also so we can expose those things that are harmful.
Yes.
It's called the vision of hope. If you got a vision, then you got hope. Without a vision, the people perish. I ain't going to smoke because I got a vision.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? There's certain things that I'm not going to do. I don't take drugs, because I got a vision. First of all, I don't want to be outside of my mental faculties. I want to have I need all of my mind. You know what I'm saying? I need, and then some, you know.
But the thing is, you have your goals. You have what you want your life to be, the way you want your life to go.
Yeah, that's vision.
But with me, if I was a smoker, I don't care about your goals. I'm sitting here smoking, and it's still affecting you.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, if you don't love you, you can't love me.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So you know, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yes.
And to smoke, but it's addictive, and it's one of the most addictive thing, more addictive than even drug, right? Mm-hmm. So I get it. You know, they're victims. At some point, to start smoking, you have to force your body to like it, because in the initial stages, either you throw up or it makes you sick because of the toxicity, you know. But then you keep doing it, and your body starts craving it. I want to go to our phone lines real quick. Caller.
And that's why they created menthol.
Caller.
Hi.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Bishop?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a morning fan.
Good morning.
Hopefully, I can articulate this question because I'm not sure exactly. It's been a while since I've heard this, but something about if you're going through chemo or any type of cancer treatment, that you should not wash the client's clothes with your clothes. You know, the person that don't have cancer. Can you elaborate on that? If that's a myth, or is that something? Is there some validity to that?
Thank you. I think this is Justine, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Just, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Well, yeah. Let's see if we can get an answer from the experts here.
Right. Thanks, Bishop.
All right.
Well, me personally, I would not recommend it. Simply because if you're going through cancer, your immune system is extremely, extremely low. So by washing their clothes with your clothes, if there's anything in your clothes, it's going to get on their clothes and make them sicker. So that's something I would not recommend.
So it's more about protecting the person
Yes.
in chemo than it is protecting you.
Yes, it's not that the
chemo is
going to transfer to you. No, it's all about protecting that patient.
Yeah, and I want to go back to our earlier conversation. Something you said, Bishop, that's very important. It's an addictive habit, you know. Nicotine, menthol, you know, is addictive, and it's one of the hardest. It's one of the hardest things to quit. You know, if you're a smoker, and if you are a smoker and you do want to quit, I encourage you to please call Roswell Park Cancer Institute, the New York State Smokers Quit Line, and that number is 1-866-NY-QUITS. That's 1-866-697-84. 1-866-697-8487. Okay, but please call the Roswell Park New York State Smokers Quit Line. They have access if you're eligible for free nicotine replacement therapy. That's the gum, that's the lozenge, that's the patch, okay, and what have you. So please, you know.
I'm glad you gave that information because it is very addictive.
Right.
I mean, and you know, it's so addictive that, you know, I've seen people that have cancer, throat cancer, and still smoke.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that tells you just how addictive this thing is. And so it's made that way, you know, so that, and sure, it's going to be a vulnerable population. People that have things to live for don't normally get these type of vices. You know, it's always on the poor, the ignorant, you know, minority populations. And I didn't say stupid, I said ignorant. That means you don't have the information to make a better decision. You know, it's not, our community ain't stupid.
Not at all.
But we need programs like this. That's why I wanted you guys to come on so that people can make a different decision. You know, so that you can be aware that your teenager, they coming home smelling like smoke. You need to check it out.
Right.
Yes.
You know, because you want that child to be able to live out the longevity of their life and their purpose, right? And so it's important that we, you know, we advocate like the larger community has done for their children.
Yeah.
And because they did it, they stopped a lot of it.
Right.
You know,
you don't see the marketing of menthol tobacco in other places like you see in the city, like you see in black communities, like you see in black and brown communities.
Right.
Take a drive. Do your own survey. You'll see a major difference. You don't see those big power walls, we call them, behind the cash register, behind the counter, that is so overwhelming with all different brands of tobacco, like you do in the city in other places. There's a reason for that.
And I think one of the other things that we've got to talk about as a community, and we should be supporters of, you know, migrant communities that come so that they can make a living just like everybody else. But when you're exploiting our community, these corner stores that are exploiting our community through our politicians and through community leadership, we need to deal with this. But a lot of this has to do with laws, and it has to do with local laws. You see what I'm saying? So we need our council people. We need our mayor. We need, the county exec and our legislators to legislate to protect us, a vulnerable population that once again can be exploited because of the poverty. Right. Because, you know, and when you're poor, there's a tendency to look at the here and now. You don't have, you're not looking, like you're planning your life out. You're planning, it's instant gratification. It's like, okay, let me enjoy what I got right now. Right? And so people understand that. They exploit that. It's not right. And so we need those that are in positions of power to protect the vulnerable. I mean, that's why you're in those leadership positions, to protect the vulnerable. And so, I need to find out. Do you guys know what type of are the legislation restrictions or whatever on corner stores as far as what they sell and all of this? Because I think this is something that we really need to look at. I'm going to look at it because I got a corner store right down the street, right down the way from the church, and they rent from us.
Yes, actually, Councilman Wyatt, he's been leading this effort in terms of looking at our tobacco retail licensing. He's actually put a moratorium on the administration of tobacco licensing until they do further review and investigation.
Shout out to Councilman Wyatt.
Yes. Yeah. And that's in concert with what our menthol ban is also all about, to also restrict the time and place and manner and proximity of where tobacco in these vape shops can be, popped up.
Well, we got some black women coming on the council. And I think it's gonna. I think the dynamics are going to shift. I mean, both of these ladies, and not to say that the men that were there were not good. I mean, I think Bishop Pridgeon has been one of the greatest representatives that we've ever had for the 12 years that he's been on that council. It's going to be interesting to see these very intelligent sisters that are going to and are very savvy as politically. I mean, these ain't upstarts. A lot of things Pastor Pridgeon had to learn once he got in office. These young ladies come in knowing the system, knowing Albany, knowing, Zanetta's been to the White House, I think, more than probably anybody else in Buffalo, so they understand the political landscape. It's going to be very interesting to see, And
we work with Zanetta.
Yeah.
Yes, and the thing is, my thought with that is they realize the people that they're targeting, the youth, is their voters. One day they will be old enough to vote.
Very soon. One day, like a year, 2, 3.
You see
what I'm saying?
So therefore, if you're targeting,
we got to wrap it up. All right, go ahead.
So therefore, if you're targeting the youth, you're targeting the people that's going to support you in the future.
Well, listen, Annette Strawberry, Stan, the man.
All right.
It's been a great conversation. I want to invite you out tomorrow, 10 a.m. My youngest boy, Mario, will be preaching. But then 10 p.m., We bringing in the new year. Listen, you want to bring it in the house of the Lord, 10 p.m. tomorrow, Bethesda World Harvest International Church, 1365 Main Street. This is Bishop Michael A. Badger, Senior Pastor, Bethesda World Harvest International Church. And beside me is
Stan the Man.
Annette known as Strawberry.
And we say peace. All right, share, like it, and we'll see you on next week. God bless.